Okay, I'm continuing this. I am committed to say all my 23 things of what I've learned in 23 years. So this is the 11th point. So number 11, walking in nature. So I love walking in nature, and that was the opposite. Before I found out that walking in nature is awesome. Yeah, so as a kid, I was really introverted. I would stay at home, play video games, and just go on the internet, like watch YouTube. I don't know if I had YouTube at the time, but it was doing something in the like sheltering myself basically. Um, and yeah, I didn't get out much. I didn't go out and socialize, which I probably should have done to a certain extent. But most importantly, like nature, finding out that walking in nature is so relaxing, so soothing, like really calming for me. I'm that type of person. Like I found out that if I go for a walk and I take the route that's more scenic, then and most of the time I'm alone, and it's really good because I just have all these thoughts in my mind and I can fully picture in my head and sort of put them all together and try and figure out like the piece of the puzzle essentially. And that's one of my favorite hobbies to do now. I would always go for a walk like at least once a week. So 12 is follow your advice you give to people. So this one is when I actually give advice to people who actually wanting it from me, or maybe sometimes they need it or something. But usually when I give advice to people, I only think for them, and I actually don't consider whether I need it or not. And most of the time, that advice is actually really useful to me. So for example, yeah, giving advice that I would probably give to people would be like, "Oh, you should go to bed early. It's good for you. If you go to bed early, you'll wake up early. It's facts. If you get a better sleep at night, then yeah, chances are you'll wake up feeling really refreshed." I gave that advice to someone when I wasn't even qualified to say that to myself because I wasn't actually getting good sleep myself. Like I did it like in the past week or something, or past month. I was like, you know what, this is what I tried. Like I slept at, at that point, and I woke up feeling really refreshed. But then sometimes you just don't realize that the advice you're giving to someone also applies to you if you haven't done it yourself. That's the thing. Number 13. The Power of Habit. I think this title is like exactly the same as this book that's by Charles Duhigg. But I haven't actually read that book. But I know the habits are pretty good. Like good habits anyway. So the power of habit. Why can it be good? Well, it can be good because it's all about consistency. The key to my life, right? One of the keys to my life is consistency. And when you do something consistent enough, then it becomes a habit. So, for example, like let's use the example I used for the last point. Sleeping, getting to bed early, and waking up early. If you do that every single day, then it will become habitual, and that will be your thing. Like you do, rinse and repeat. So that's why habits are really good. Like you get into the habit of it, then you'll start improving like your health, your life basically. But obviously with some other habits it's bad. And I think with Charles Duhigg it mentions that you shouldn't go all out into discovering new habits, like new good habits, you should do it one by one, and taking a step by step approach, and making sure you develop one at a time, before actually going to a new one. But yeah, habits are good. That's what I have to say for that. Number 14, meet new people. I should probably stop shaking. This table's really shaky. Yeah, no, like I said, I'm really introverted. I'm really antisocial, I would say. But if I get to know people, I'm really social with them. I talk with them. I love deep conversations in a one-on-one situation. And when someone's in the same wavelength as me, which is really difficult to find someone who is like that, I would just go all out and say all the things I want to say with them without feeling like uncomfortable, because it's amazing when I get to have someone like that. But yeah, meet new people. The reason why I realized that meeting new people is good because it gives you another perspective. It gives you a new perspective to see what insights people bring to the table. And with meeting new people, it opens up to new culture. It opens up new conversations. It gives your brain like an engagement, or what's it called? It's really exciting. You get to learn about people's interests, people's new interest. And another reason is that, I want to find people that is like-minded, and really positive as well, and something that enforces me to become more positive if they're in a positive light. So that's the reason why I want to meet new people. It's to find more friends as well. But yeah, I don't really have a lot of friends. I try to make friends, but then I end up tightening my friends into a small circle. Does that even make sense? I don't have a lot of friends, and that's a good thing for me, but it's always good to meet new people, regardless of whether you want to become friends with them. Just to get to know them, it's good enough to actually see what they think, what is their view of the world. Number 15, comfort someone instead of giving advice. So this one is something I work on quite often, is that whenever someone's really down, instead of rushing to give them the advice that might benefit them, sometimes it's always good to just be there for them, just be present for them and comfort them. Not all the time. It depends from person to person, but some people might prefer to be comforted, just for you to be there. You don't really have to talk. You can just be silent. You can just be there by their side and let them know that you're there with them and they're not alone, kind of thing. So that's why I realized it does help for some people, because giving advice for them, it just makes them overwhelmed with the ideas. It doesn't take a day or two to actually resolve their conflicts. It can take them some time to actually resolve it. So yeah, just comfort them sometimes. Sometimes comfort for the people who want the comfort. Give advice to the people who want advice. Number 16, be present. Say kind of the same thing here. So being present is sometimes good, because for me as a person, my thoughts are like a pinball basically, and it never stops. Sometimes I feel trapped inside my thoughts, and I don't realize what's going on in my surroundings, and that's when I need to be present, because life isn't just about just being stuck inside my head. Life should also be what's going on around me. Being present, I think, with being aware with yourself, that's called self-awareness. Being aware of your surroundings, I think that's what they call a situational awareness. And I think this is more difficult for me, because I never know sometimes what happens around me, because I'm just, stuck in thinking in my imaginary world. But it's really good to be present, because it's not all about you. Sometimes you have to take into consideration of what people are doing and what people are thinking. So it's good. Be present. Number 17, think before saying it out loud. Again, this also applies to being present. For me, yeah. So I juggle ideas everywhere. Like, things I say just bounces off. Like, every time I think of something, I go to the next thing. And it feels like every millisecond I seem to think of something new. And whenever I come to actually say it verbally, I'm on to the next idea already, and I get caught up on it, and I've lost my trail of thoughts in the previous thought I had. Like right now, I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm saying it too fast, so I need to kind of slow it down, think what I have to say first. And this is probably something I need to work on more, is think a little bit more carefully, say things a little bit slower, and then eventually you won't stumble over your words. Like right now, I'm doing pretty good. I'm not saying I'm not stumbling over my words. I'm also thinking carefully. And yeah, that I just want to improve on that. But yeah, I would say it's much better than what I had in school, for example. Like, in school it was a lot worse because I didn't really talk to anyone. Super antisocial. That's why I need more practice, because I didn't really talk to anyone, so I didn't get any practice out of it. But now it's fine. Number 18, surround yourself with positive people. With this one, I realized that some people in my life at some point was quite negative towards me. And yes, you could argue that it's sometimes they make it out as a joke. You can make it seem like it's a joke, it's a banter type of thing. It's between friends. But sometimes when the more you do it, the more repetitive it gets. And the more sensitive I get. So I'm a really sensitive person. I get really self-critical when someone calls me out. So the more they say it, the more I think I am this way. But I'm not doing anything about it. I'm just contemplating about it, and I'm feeling down because of what they keep saying. And yeah, I just don't have a thick skull for it. This is what I realized. When I started hanging around with more positive people, I felt like I felt rejuvenated. People can be positive. People can see a better light in you. This is why I want to meet new people as well, is so I can find more of these people. Because the more I surround with them, the better I get, to be honest. And I don't see any point with surrounding with any of the negative people anymore, because what's the use? What benefit do I get apart from playing the game with them? So although I did like some of the people that I was being surrounded with, it overall didn't work out for me. I wasn't in the same wavelength as them. They weren't either, I think, but I just didn't feel right for me to be with certain people. Number 19 is take action. This can apply with some of my other points already, so take action. This comes down to thoughts again. So thinking that I can do something, I can do it this way, I can do it that way. It's to do with perfectionism as well. But taking action is the most important thing. And I feel like a lot of people fail to do this, including myself. I'm the worst for it, to be honest, but I'm always working on it. I'm always working to take action, especially when, like, for doing this video, for example, I don't have to do it perfect. Sometimes you gotta do a half-assed, but to get something out there, it counts towards something, right? It counts toward progress. And I want to try and do it like as minimal improvements as possible, nothing too drastic. Otherwise, the action just cease to exist in your mind. So for the action to be still there, it has to be actionable steps that is doable for you at the time, and not to go overboard, but not to contemplate in your mind forever. So that's that. Number 20, don't be afraid to invest with money. How I was taking everything, like every single information as I see being worth, and not seeing the value in some of these informations. So, for example, if a course was given to you for free, obviously I would take it if I was in the past. But in certain cases, yes, free information is good sometimes, but most of it lying around in the internet, most of it you're gonna find that it lacks in actionable steps. And with investing money, you put it into the right place to motivate yourself. Because one, you're spending money to make yourself accountable, that you're being aware that you're losing money for paying this certain course. I know some courses out there are like really shit, but you just have to find the right ones. If you find the right ones and you invest in them, then the return on investment will be very good for you. But it's really useful with these kinds of things, because you'll learn something from it, at least if you're willing to put your mind into it. But investing in money to put on your savings account is also really good, but not relevant to what I'm talking. So investing money for knowledge, it's always something I see as useful now, because I would always take advantage of free information. But it's why I fail a lot, because I get overwhelmed by these free informations but don't know what to do with it. But when you're spending money to create money, it's a great outcome than actually not spending money to create money. Because when you're doing things for free to get money out of it, then chances are it's going to be really small for you. So that's why I learned you got to spend money to create big money, in a way. Number 21 is accept failure. So everything that I do is a failure, because I'm a failure. So accepting failure was difficult for me. It is difficult now, and it probably always will be. The more you accept your failures, the more you come to realize that we're all humans. We all fail. We all make mistakes. No one successful has ever made no failures. Does that make sense? Yeah. Every successful person has all gone through failures. So why can't you just accept the failure that you're going through right now in the journey of whatever you're trying to pursue? Like, we're always gonna go through a failure. Yeah, most of the time you just have to accept it. You just have to be aware that, like, what's going through your mind right now, like whether you're giving up. Just say, hey, I failed here. Like, fuck, it feels like shit, but let's just feel this shit out for a day. That sounds disgusting. Just be there at the moment and just say, shit, man, I failed, but I'll continue the next day. Just because you failed one day doesn't mean you're gonna fail for the coming days, for the years to come and all that. You're not gonna fail every day. It's just gonna be a couple of hiccups in some moments of your life. So number 22 is learn from your failures. So this is after you accept your failures. I realized that learning from failures gives you results. When you come to accept them, you don't have to immediately learn your failures there. It's kind of like the point that I was saying with comforting someone instead of giving them advice. But with this, it's, yes, you comfort yourself first. You don't immediately give yourself advice or try and learn from something for it. Just let your mind settle in the failures first, and then come to the next day, you'll work on something that you can improve on. That's what I'm saying with failures. They're really good. They're really useful, actually. You can argue that failures is so much better than success, because it gives you the tool. It's a useful tool to actually go through and improve yourself. Without failure, there is no improvement. Without failure in this world, nothing would progress. So failure is good. Don't see it as bad, even though sometimes you will see it as bad. But resist the temptation to say failure is bad. Failure is good. 23. My God, is the hardest thing I've ever had to accept. Is loving myself. I wasn't sure whether to put this point myself because I don't love myself. I don't know. Yeah, because I don't have too much confidence in myself sometimes. And, that accounts for failure as well. Like, whenever I fail for something, I always put the blame to myself. Like, obviously, it's sometimes I blame somebody else, but most of the time I do blame myself. I'm really self-critical, and, I would get defensive sometimes to someone, but then end up contemplating whether they are right or wrong. And chances are, I would take it to heart saying, yes, they're probably right. They're mostly right because of what I've done, this and this. And rarely do I love myself, because most of the time I do think about myself. I do help people as well. But with loving myself, it's hard to accept because of all the doubts you have of all the doubts I have in my head, of all the insecurities that I have. It's hard to love yourself. I sometimes always hate myself for doing certain things. Like, why can't I do it this way? Why can someone else do it so perfectly and I can't? I'm always envious of what people do. Sometimes I would push myself so that I can be better than them, but then other times I'm just feeling really down and thinking, well, shit, I can't amount to anything. With loving myself, it gives you that confidence, to say, you know what, fuck everyone. Like, fuck the things that you're saying right now, the doubts that you have. Like, you have to say, I can do this. It's part of saying that you need to destroy all those doubts, all the negativities going through your thoughts. Negativity is good in certain cases, but when you're trying to get something done, then you just gotta flush it all away and let the positivity and optimistic views about what you can do is a thing that I should strive to do. Like, I want to be able to love myself because I know I can do it, but then no buts. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, love myself. I love BTS for spreading the message of loving, for people to love themselves, because I love that message, and it's something I'm working towards. The most important thing. So there's that. That's all I have to say. 23 things I've learned in my 23 years.